everybody, it's Kyle back from Stall Agronomy, and I'm standing here, and my wife, I sent her a video of this field. I was here the other day, similar day. It was actually pretty windy, and it's just one of those things. You know, I'm standing in a wheat field blowing in the wind, and at some point maybe I'll just shoot some video of that, and you guys can watch it if you want to watch some wheat blowing. But anyway, I'm here just to talk about maybe an update of what's going on in the last week. Busy week. We haven't had much rainfall lately, and really, you know, I think we had a ½ inch on Wednesday when they said it wasn't going to rain. So when our meteorologists right, we always say it's the 20-80 rule. When there's a 20% chance of rain, we have really more like an 80% chance of rain, because that's when we're actually going to get it. And that's basically our Wednesday. It rained all day Wednesday here. We got about a ½ inch scattered pretty much throughout my entire territory. So for the most part, everybody's fields have kind of perked up a little bit. We thought we were going to get a bunch of heat last week. Really didn't. So I ran, and I posted this on Twitter. I'll try to post this on Facebook too, but we ran a simulation basically on a June 10th planting of corn. And I put a 92-day hybrid in there, and on June 10th, it was showing that it would mature about November 1st, end of October. And our average frost date for a killing freeze is about October 18th. So we had not a great hybrid actually making it again today, and we lost about 50 to 75 heat units. There's really no chance of that hybrid making it at this point, you know, and that's honestly if we get average weather from here on out. September could tell quite a bit, so that's going to be our big thing. And we always talk to guys about, and a lot of people ask me, well, we're going to pick up heat units when we start hitting 80 this week, and that's not really true. For the most part, you know, we always talk about heat units that are temperatures above 50 and below 86. So when we're at 80, yeah, we're going to start picking up heat units, as far as we're actually going to start getting more heat units in a day. But the most part, you know, we're looking at actually picking up heat units versus normal. Our normal temperature is about 80 right now, so we're really not going to pick up much for heat units. I did the math. It's basically we can maybe get 5 or 6 a day at the most if we actually picked up that much above normal. And it'd have to be 86 degrees during the day, and we'd be in the 60s at night. So the odds of us picking up heat units in late June, July, and August are usually pretty slim. Usually at that point we're losing, because, you know, any day that we're below that, we really don't lose much usually, and we really don't gain much in June, late June, July, and August. So really September's going to tell the tale on this corn crop. So there was a lot of corn that was put in June. I'd say up by us maybe 50 to 60%. A lot of stuff was, the decisions were made. There's a lot of 100-day plus corn in. There's a lot of 95+ day corn in some places too. So we're planting full season corn in June. Really just don't know what to tell you right now. At this point, I'm optimistic. You know, corn hybrids typically have the opportunity or the ability to decrease the amount of heat units they need to get to maturity by about around 200 units. We'll just say 200. So really 101 day kind of turns itself into a 98 or 99 day. But you know, that comes at a cost. When we start dropping those heat units and when we're adjusting for our planting dates, those hybrids will narrow up their rows, and usually they won't be quite as long on the year. So, you know, that's why we always talk, you know, lower yield potential, because even if you do plant something that's going to make it, our yield potential is going to be lower. So that moves into the next thing, right? So we got to talk about managing our crop to its potential. You know, Sean Connolly put out a thing the other day talking about people asking about sugar on soybeans, and he's basically a spoonful of sugar makes the profits go down, was what the article title was. And yeah, you know, there's going to be a lot of this stuff. There's going to be a lot of snake oil type products that'll be coming out of the woodworks. You know, anything that can guarantee you a little bit more yield, you're going to want to do, right? You know, at this point, corn market's up a little bit. It's been down the past couple days. Bean market's a little up. There's a potential we'll have an MFP payment on it, but we don't know what that is yet. Somebody tells you it's $2. As far as I know, and as far as I can understand, the USDA is saying that they have not made that statement. They've just said that there's going to be a payment. They don't know what it is yet. That's mostly based on a Bloomberg article that was released and widely speculated and sent around. So yeah, at this point, we see a little bit better crop prices, the potential for becoming profitable, even at potentially a little bit lower yields. we're going to want to throw more stuff at it. But at the same time, you need to be realistic in what your yield potential is, realistic of what the market's going to be. I've had a few guys say, I think corn's going to go to 6. It hasn't even hit 5 yet. So, you know, kind of have that realization that maybe we might be $4.50 to $5, and maybe that's where it's going to settle. You know, and soybeans could be the same way. You know, maybe we're going to hit $8.50, maybe $9, and that's where we're going to kind of even out at. So, yeah, I had somebody tell me the other day that they think they could get 40 bushel beans planted in July. The last practical day as far as John Connolly and the university is concerned for planting soybeans is June 20th. So really, again, you know, have practical expectations of what you're going to get. You know, we don't plant double crop soybeans in Wisconsin for a reason. You know, they just never mature correctly when we get weed off. And usually even in 2012, I had some people think about it, and actually a few people tried it. It didn't work out. I think maybe they got 15 bushel if they matured. So even on a hot year, we just don't get much for yield out of soybeans planted past June 20th. So don't have those expectations you're going to get 40 bushels, but at the same time, manage for what you think you're going to get. You know, if your corn's yellow, it's short. There's a lot of issues going on with it. It was late planted to begin with. Don't think it's going to be 250 bushel corn. Maybe it's 150 bushel corn, but you know, you can maybe fertilize it for 200, but have realistic expectations when you're putting this money in. Don't think you're just going to get this gravy thing from the MFP coming in. You're not going to get, you know, maybe corn's going to go to $10. Stuff like that's probably not going to happen. So, but just manage it correctly. Manage it within a budget. You know, we always talk about, especially I talk to quite a few guys about running your farm as a business. Understanding you're making business decisions. Don't make emotional decisions. You know, as long as my corn looks perfect and green, I'm going to make money. It just never really happens. The other thing I want to talk about when we're on that subject is tar spot. There's been a lot of talk, a lot of questions about tar spot. Damon Smith put out a post a few days ago talking about the tar spot potentials for this year. And according to his tar spotter estimates, so this app is not released to the public yet because it has it needs a lot of tweaking. You know, we really don't know 100%. We've had tar spot for a year or two. We have no clue what's going to happen, and neither do they. So, in preliminary readings, the tar spot estimator is estimating we have there's greater than 95% chance we're going to see tar spot this year. Does that mean we're going to have a widespread epidemic like last year? Is it going to be just huge? Is it going to come in earlier? We really don't know. And Damon was very cautious to say that he has no clue what exactly is going to happen. The one thing we do know is we don't think tar spot's going to show up in your corn right now. Between V6 and tassel, there's a potential it could show up. We're talking about the Southwest Wisconsin guys. They started getting it pretty early last year, but closer to tassel. We have until probably about tassel to R1, R2 to start making decisions on that. So is your company that you're working with, or your retailer, or whoever you're buying your chemicals and agronomy inputs and advice from, telling you to spray for tar spot at V6? The residual's just not there. You're going to maybe get a month or so out of residual, so you're really not going to get that residual. You know, we talked about at winter meetings, and I think I talked about it on video, for tar spot where maybe you're going to have to make 2 passes post-tassel if we really want control and it's really bad, because we just won't get the residual to get us to the end. And then we'll start bumping into label restrictions and everything else like that. But if I was going to make a fungicide pass for tar spot, I would be a VT to R2, you know, as late as maybe potentially possible. We're thinking northern corn leaf blight here, not necessarily like gray leaf spot or rust or anything else. So kind of think that later development for the most part. We don't know what it's going to be. I have no clue what's going to happen. We're just going to keep attention to Damon Smith and any of the extension researchers we can get a hold of, and kind of understand what they're saying. And I'll keep guys abreast of what they're doing and what they're saying as we go. So at this point, don't spray a V6 fungicide on corn for tar spot. Now, had a lot of people making recommendations about anthracnose leaf blight, or seedling anthracnose, and some of these early leaf diseases. The thinking on those, and I've gotten this from several different places. Iowa State and I were kind of going back and forth a little bit. So V6 fungicide, there's a very rare chance that V6 fungicide alone will pay off. All those leaves that we're trying to protect now are usually gone or contribute basically nothing to the factory for the corn plant. So we always want to worry about, once we start filling out the cob and developing the ear leaf up, that's where most of the sunlight hits, and that's where the plant's actually pulling energy from to make that ear. So at this point, I don't think V6 fungicide is going to pay for anybody. There might be some recommendations for micronutrients, growth promoters, growth regulators, throwing a whole bunch of stuff at it. Realize what you're getting. You know, I had one guy tell me one year if I bought everything that everybody tried to sell me, I'd have 500 bushel corn. And you know, that's true. You know, these guys always want to guarantee, it's usually the cost per acre is $5 to $10. The yield bushel or yield gain is between 5 and 7 bushels. I mean, it's the same thing for every product that ever comes out. Realize what you're getting into. Look at extension data. Look at independent trials on it. Most of the time, I will say, you know, coming from a retail environment, when we would present yield data, I never really liked to, but I never used this stuff. A lot of the yield data that comes from companies, if you look at the trials that they used, it's based on a university trial. If you look at the university trial, they take out a couple of the points that they think are irrelevant to the data. So there could be a high one, there could be a couple low ones that they take out. So you never know. So pay attention to independent resources for information on if things pay. So anyway, that's it. I'm going to cut this off. I could talk forever and ever about saving money and trying to make sure that we're making the right decisions this year. Not going to tell anybody that they made the wrong ones. We just don't know what it's going to be yet. It was a difficult year. We're making a lot of decisions on the fly. We were throwing stuff in and just really trying to get something done. So I'm not going to hold anybody accountable, but I'll let you take a view, just a view of this wheat as I close. So I'll catch you next time. Should have one out by next week. So I'll catch you guys later.